Most people believe the first $10,000 is important because of the number. They're wrong. It changes your life because it rewires the way you think about money, risk, and your future. The hardest part of building wealth isn't making your first million. It's proving to yourself that you can save, invest, and delay gratification long enough to reach your first real financial milestone. That's why so many people never get there. Watch this video until the very end, because once you understand why your first $10,000 changes everything, you'll stop chasing quick money and start building the habits that create real wealth for the rest of your life. You wake up at 2:47 in the morning and your phone is face down on the nightstand. You didn't set an alarm. Something else pulled you out of sleep. You don't check the time first. You check the account. You do the math before your eyes are even open. Rent is Friday. Car payment hits Monday. You've got $380 and you haven't bought groceries yet this week. You do this quietly in the dark so you don't wake anyone. The same math in the same dark that you've been running your whole adult life. You put the phone down. You stare at the ceiling. Sleep doesn't come back for a long time. If that's familiar, if that math happens before your alarm goes off, this video is going to change something. Not because I'm going to tell you to budget harder or stop getting coffee or make more money. You've heard all of that before. That's not what this is. This is about one number, $10,000, and what happens to you, not your account. You, the actual person, the moment you cross it. Because people talk about $10,000 like it's a savings milestone. Like the point is the number on the screen. It isn't. The number is just when something underneath everything else finally shifts. When the math in the dark at 2:47 in the morning stops being an emergency and starts being a choice. Most people never find out there's a difference between those two things. You're about to. If this is the kind of content you want more of, the real mechanics of money without the gloss, subscribe right now. This channel exists to show you how the financial system actually works from the inside. Understanding what $10,000 does before you get there is exactly what gets you there faster. Now, let's keep going. Right now, today, you are making every financial decision inside a cage. You probably don't call it that. You call it being careful, being realistic. But there's a version of careful that's really just fear with a spreadsheet attached to it. And when your savings are under $1,000, almost every decision you make is fear-based, not stupid, not careless, fear-based. That distinction matters more than most people realize. You don't leave the job you hate because you can't afford a gap in income, not even 3 weeks, not even one missed paycheck. The cage isn't your boss. The cage is the number in the account. You don't push back on the salary offer because if they rescind it, you don't have time to wait for the next one. So you take what they give you and say thank you. You work the overtime you didn't want because coming up short before the 28th is worse than being tired. You stay in the apartment with the mold spreading in the bathroom corner because breaking the lease costs more than you have right now. You sit through conversations you want to end. You say yes to things you want to say no to. You don't apply for the opportunity that requires even a 2-week wait to hear back. Every decision goes through the same filter first. Can I afford to be wrong here? And the answer is almost always no. So you don't make the choice. The choice gets made for you by the balance. The cage isn't your circumstances. The cage is the constant inability to absorb any mistake at all. And you've been living inside it long enough that you started calling the cage just how life works. It isn't. $10,000 doesn't fix everything. Let's be honest about that right now. Bills don't stop. Stress doesn't vanish. Life doesn't get easy. What changes is one specific thing that turns out to affect every other thing. The filter changes. You stop running decisions through, can I afford to be wrong? And you start running them through, is this actually what I want? Those are two completely different questions. And if you have never had $10,000 saved, you have never made a major life decision using the second one. Every job you took, every city you stayed in, every conversation you kept small, every opportunity you let pass quietly, it went through the first. That question has been running your life. You just called it being practical. $10,000 doesn't hand you a perfect life. It gives you the ability to ask a different question. And that one change touches everything else. Here's what actually happens the day you hit it. You're not standing on a mountain. There's no ceremony. It's probably a Tuesday. You open the app the way you've been opening it every few days for months, watching the number climb slowly. And there it is. 5 digits. $10,000 in something. You stare at it 1 second longer than usual. You might screenshot it. You probably don't tell anyone. You close the app and go about your day. But something happened that you cannot undo. Your nervous system just received a piece of information it has never had before, that you can absorb a hit. Not every hit. Not a catastrophic one, but the average hit, the kind that used to wipe out your entire month. That one doesn't end you now. Your brain knows it, not like you read it somewhere, your body knows it. And that knowledge starts changing things before you even realize it's changing them. You've been in this situation. The car makes a noise on a Wednesday morning, not a good noise. The kind that tightens your stomach before you're even out of driveway. You call the shop. You sit in the waiting room doing math on your phone. Belt, maybe $300. Alternator, $600. Something worse. You stop because the math doesn't matter. You don't have options. You have one option. Fix it. Charge it. Figure it out later. You sign the paper when they come out. You tap the card. You drive home quieter than you came. Now run that same Wednesday with $10,000 in savings. The noise still happens. Your stomach still tightens. You're human. But the next 10 seconds are different. Instead of the options collapsing into one, they open. You can get a second opinion before committing. You can wait a few days. You can decide the car isn't worth fixing and take your time finding a replacement instead of grabbing the first thing a dealer shows you because you need wheels by Monday. A $480 repair is not a crisis with $10,000 in the account. It's a decision, a real one with options where you actually get to choose. That is not a small thing. That is a completely different life wearing the same Wednesday. Your manager calls you in. Restructuring. Your position is eliminated. 4-week severance. They slide the paper across the desk. Before $10,000, you sign it. You go home in a panic. You apply everywhere and take the first offer because the bills don't care that you're being thoughtful. You end up somewhere worse than where you left because you needed the gap to stop. You've seen this happen. You may have lived it. After $10,000, you ask for the weekend to think. They say yes, they always would have. You just never had the cushion to use that time. You go home. You think about what you actually want. You apply for things you actually want. You negotiate because you can say no to a bad offer and survive it. The ability to say no in a negotiation is the only thing that makes the other side take you seriously. Before $10,000, you never had it. After, it's yours. And it changes every career conversation that follows. Here's one nobody talks about, and it matters more than people expect. After you hit $10,000, institutions start treating you differently. Not because you told them, not because anything about you looks different. The systems just see a different signal and respond to it. The next time you go to finance something, a car, a home, anything, the rate you're offered is not the same rate you'd have gotten at $200. The bank that would have declined a personal loan without hesitation now offers you terms that aren't embarrassing. The credit card offers that arrive in the mail start looking like actual credit, real limits, reasonable rates, not secured cards that want your own money as collateral just to lend it back to you. You walk into a branch and the interaction shifts. Not dramatically, not like royalty, but the teller doesn't move through you like your luggage on a belt. The same fee that would have taken 3 phone calls and a manager at $200 gets handled in one conversation. None of this is fair. All of it is real. The financial system doesn't respond to who you are. It responds to what the account says about you. And at $10,000, what it says is, this person is not a risk. And not being seen as a risk opens doors that stay closed at every balance below it. The one almost nobody mentions is this. You stop waking up at 2:47 in the morning, not immediately, not the week after you hit it, but slowly, over a few months, the 2 a.m. math sessions start happening less, then barely at all, because the thing pulling you out of sleep was never the dark. It was the pressure, the low-level, constant pressure of knowing one wrong thing would tip everything over. When that pressure starts to lift, your sleep changes. Your body stops running threat calculations at midnight. And when your sleep changes, everything tied to it changes too. You're less reactive at work. You make clearer decisions because you're not making them on borrowed energy. The patience you couldn't seem to find, the kind that makes you a better coworker, a better partner, a better parent, starts showing up. Not because you became someone different, because the fear that was eating your capacity finally stopped. Sleep is not a luxury. It's where your nervous system processes whether you're safe. $10,000 tells your nervous system yes, and that answer changes the quality of every waking hour that follows. Something else shifts that nobody warned you about. The way you carry yourself changes. Not because you announced anything, not because you bought anything. You look exactly the same. Same car, same clothes, same apartment. But the fear that was driving your decisions, the quiet, constant pressure of one bad week ending everything, that pressure loosens. And when it loosens, you stop needing things you didn't know you were needing. You stop agreeing with people you don't agree with, because you're not desperate to protect every single income stream or connection. You stop shrinking in rooms where you feel outranked. You stop laughing at things that aren't funny because the person saying them is someone you can't afford to push away. The version of you that exists under constant financial pressure is not the full version of you. It's a compressed version, shaped entirely by what you couldn't risk losing. $10,000 starts letting the rest of you come back. You hold conversations differently. You say things you used to keep to yourself. You disagree when you used to go quiet. From the inside, it doesn't feel dramatic. It just feels like breathing slightly easier than before. But the people around you notice. Because the fear you were carrying, even though you never named it out loud, was visible. And when it starts to fade, that's visible too. Your relationships change, and not always in the ways you expect. Some people in your life were bonded to the version of you that was always a little desperate, who needed favors, needed flexibility, needed to split things a certain way every time. When you stop being that person, some of those dynamics quietly shift. A few people drift. That's not a loss. That's clarity about what was actually there. But something else happens too. You start showing up differently for the people who matter. You're less snappy, less distracted at dinner, less likely to blow up over something small because the small thing hit a nerve that was already raw from money stress you'd been carrying for years. The financial pressure wasn't just affecting your account. It was leaking into every room you walked into. $10,000 starts sealing the leak, and the relationships on the other side of it start to breathe again. Here's the part most people completely miss. $10,000 doesn't just change your present. It starts rewriting your future in ways you can't fully see yet. When you have no savings, every year of work is a year of staying even. You go in, you come out, the account starts at one number and ends at roughly the same one 12 months later. You're not building anything. You're maintaining the ground beneath you. And maintaining is exhausting because the ground doesn't reward the effort. It just sits there waiting for you to slip. The moment you have $10,000, you're no longer maintaining. You're building. And building changes how you see time. A person who is surviving sees time as the enemy, something passing while they're still behind. A person who is building sees time as the engine, the thing doing the work while they sleep. Once you feel that, once you watch $10,000 become $10,450 without doing a single thing because it's sitting in a high-yield savings account earning over 4%, the whole game changes. Because now you understand something people living on the edge never get to see. Money grows when you leave it alone. The hard part was never earning it. The hard part was accumulating enough that you stopped consuming it the second it arrived. Most people never break that cycle. They earn more, spend more, the loop stays closed. $10,000 is the first proof you can break it. And once broken, the gap between you and the edge widens every month without you doing a thing. You're going to hear people say $10,000 doesn't matter, that it's not real money, that wealth starts at $100,000 or $1 million or some number that makes $10,000 feel like a rounding error. Don't let that in. Not because they're wrong about scale. At $10,000, you are not done, not wealthy, not finished. But they're misunderstanding what $10,000 actually is. It's not the destination. It's the first decision that proves to yourself with real evidence in your own account, in your own name, that you are capable of not spending money you have. Before this number, part of you doesn't fully believe it's possible. Not for you specifically, You've watched money arrive and leave your whole adult life. You've told yourself you'll save when things calm down, after this bill, after the next raise. The story always has a next chapter that never comes. $10,000 is when the story changes. Not because the money fixed everything, because you look at the number and there is no longer any story to tell yourself about whether you're capable. The proof is sitting right there. And the people who go from $10,000 to $50,000 to more, they aren't smarter or luckier in most cases. They just stopped stopping. They hit $10,000, believed themselves for the first time, and kept going. The number didn't change everything. The belief did. One last thing, and this one is uncomfortable, so stay with it. $10,000 is going to show you who you've been spending money for. Because once the pressure lifts, once you stop running the survival filter through every decision, you'll start noticing something. Some of the spending was never for you. It was for the image of you. The dinner you couldn't cover, but went to anyway, because you didn't want to be the one who couldn't. The upgrade you bought because the old version made you feel like you were falling behind. The item you put on the card because saying no would have meant explaining yourself. And explaining yourself meant admitting something you weren't ready to say out loud when you have $10,000 in savings. Something clarifies. The people you were spending to impress either didn't notice, didn't care, or were doing the exact same thing with their own card, running their own 2 a.m. math in their own dark and keeping it quiet. Every dollar you spent performing a version of yourself that wasn't real is a dollar that didn't go toward building the version you actually want to become. From $10,000 forward, you start spending on things you actually want, not things that manage the fear, not things that prove to strangers that you're fine, things you genuinely, specifically, actually want. Snorts. That is the quietest revolution that comes with that number. You stop buying the feeling of okay, and you start buying actual life. You wake up. It's Tuesday, 7:15. Your alarm. You open the app. Not because you're scared of what it says, because you're curious. The number is there, still growing. You put the phone down and you get up. The water bill is coming. The car needs tires before winter. There will be a month somewhere down the road where something goes sideways. Something always does. You know all of this. And for the first time in your adult life, you're not afraid of it. Not because everything is solved. Not because the number is something you'd brag about, but because you know with the quiet, specific certainty of someone who has seen the proof in their own name that you can handle it. That is $10,000, not things, not status, not freedom in the final sense. It buys the calm of someone who stopped reacting and started deciding, of someone who learned, not in theory, but in practice, the difference between surviving life and actually living it. The math you used to run in the dark at 2:47 in the morning has a different ending now. You close the app. You make coffee. The ceiling you used to stare at in the dark doesn't cross your mind. That's everything that changes, and it starts with one number. Yours.